Railroad Square, Arts District of Tallahassee, Florida. Urban art is definitely where it's at. Hello, this your boy P9, and I finally made it to T-Town, which is the state capital of Florida, Tallahassee, Florida. Right here at the corner of Monroe and Call Street. We about to get this thing started. So I'm right here in downtown Tallahassee. And it is now 6:43 in the evening. Sun's still out, nice and shining. It's hot, but the sun is still out nevertheless. Now, Tallahassee is located in Leon County. The interesting thing about Tallahassee is that it is the only incorporated municipality within Leon County. So everything else in Leon County are unincorporated areas. So Tallahassee is the only full-fledged city that's located in Leon County. Tallahassee became the capital of Florida, which was then known as the Florida Territory before it became a state, in 1824. So it was the capital of Florida before Florida became a full-fledged state in the US. Florida State is also a college town. It's home to Florida State University, which is a large public research university here in the city, known for their athletics and their academics, of course. And it's home to Florida A&M University, aka FAMU, which is a historically black university. So you have options as far as colleges are concerned right here. There's also a community college in Tallahassee. But right now we're in the downtown area. Now this area is known as Bloxham Park. It's over here at the corner of Monroe and Park Avenue. And I'm gonna go take a stroll down here at this park. We see these willows hanging off the trees right here. So apparently Leon County was involved, or at least this is where the American Revolutionary War took place. As you can see right here, just a marker that goes into detail about Leon County soldiers applying for pensions during the American War for Independence, aka the Revolutionary War. So this is Park Avenue, some more structures over here. This is the Knott House Museum. Where you can get a tour of this museum right here. So this building was actually constructed in 1843. A free black builder by the name of George Proctor allegedly constructed this building in 1843. Immediately after the Civil War ended, Union Brigadier General Edward McCook used the house as his temporary headquarters, where he occupied Tallahassee. On May 20th, 1865, McCook declared freedom for all enslaved persons in the greater Tallahassee region. Okay, so the Knott family acquired this house in 1928 and added some columns to the front of it. So yeah, this is the building right here, and this is the columns that they're alluding to right here in front of this building. But I'm gonna get back to the main drag. I just want to detour over here to Bloxham Park and the Knott House. I'm gonna make my way back to the main drag of Monroe Street. You see that sun is beaming. I should have put on some shades today. This is a library right here. Apparently it's a library that was converted into a bar. It's called Bar 1903. So right here is the Jim Moran building, College of Entrepreneurship and Institute for Global Entrepreneurship. Why is this building important? Because it is affiliated with Florida State University. As you can see right here, the seal for Florida State University, 1851. So Florida State apparently has buildings that are connected to downtown. I'm gonna go visit the campus tomorrow of Florida State University along with Florida A&M. I'm gonna visit them tomorrow. I'm gonna stay here to Tallahassee overnight, get some rest, and get back to it tomorrow. Right here at the corner of College and Monroe Street. I'm gonna keep going down this way on Monroe Street, and I'm gonna come back and come down College Street. I'm gonna do that. Now check this out. There's a bunch of like footsteps with engravings of what appears to be names of individuals, the foot soldiers who took part in civil rights activism right here in Tallahassee. So civil rights activism took place in Tallahassee as well, which makes sense because they do have a historically black university in Tallahassee, and there was a huge black population in Tallahassee even during that time. But this right here commemorates the Tallahassee bus boycott. So on May 26, 1956, I don't know how to pronounce that. I believe it's Wilhelmina Jakes and Carrie Patterson rather, refused to move to the back of a crowded bus, which was more frequent than we imagined. That happened a lot. Refusals to go to the back of the bus. We already know Rosa Parks. But what started off as a shopping excursion by these two Florida A&M University, aka FAMU students, turned into a trip to the city jail, where police charged them with placing themselves in a position to incite a riot. The next night, they found out a cross burning outside their home. Outraged, FAMU students quickly decided to boycott the city's buses for the remainder of the semester. They did this fully aware of the ongoing bus boycott in Montgomery. So that's why that Montgomery bus boycott was such a landmark event, because it laid the foundation for other boycotts across the South and other parts of the country as well. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. They did this fully aware. Okay, I read that already. Members of Tallahassee's African American community soon joined the students, and through the newly founded Inter-Civic Council, aka the ICC, widened the protest into a citywide bus boycott. So Reverend C.K. Steele led this protest and demanded all passengers be allowed to sit wherever they chose, receive courteous treatment, and that all blacks be hired as bus drivers. The ICC appealed for moral justice. In order to make the boycott feasible, the ICC organized carpools that the city soon attempted to quash through various legal and extra-legal means. Despite intimidation tactics, which included a march by the Ku Klux Klan down Tennessee Street past Steele's parsonage, thousands of African Americans persisted in refusing to ride the city's buses. On November 13, 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Alabama's laws requiring segregation on buses were unconstitutional. A month later, on December 23rd, the ICC voted to officially end the boycott. Despite Tallahassee's city commissioners' continued resistance to desegregation, bus drivers quietly ignored everyday challenges to the city's ordinances. The bus boycott in Tallahassee demonstrated to the world that the events in Montgomery were not an aberration. It also confirmed the value of using nonviolent actions to assail injustices and inequality. So yes, the Montgomery bus boycott was a big deal as well, and it just goes to show that, you know, when you have leadership and you have a bunch of people follow suit, action can turn into results. So there goes the A&M college bus right there. We would rather walk in dignity and then ride in humiliation. That's by Reverend C.K. Steele. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep marching to the freedom land. Yes, we all know that. Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. The immortal words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. So I found this particular part of Tallahassee rather interesting. There were hundreds and thousands of ordinary people who did extraordinary things. Patricia Stevens do. So that's how they did it, though. You know, they hit them where they hit them where it hurt, right there in the pockets. Didn't boycott it, and the city buses lost a lot of money. Jail, no bail. Tallahassee lunch counter sit-ins. Lunch counters at dime stores such as Woolworth and McCrory's offered downtown shoppers a reasonably priced place to sit and eat, but only for white patrons. And again, there goes another Woolworth and McCrory's. We heard about those stores. Those dime, they had a chain of stores that were basically segregated. Did not allow black patrons. So on February 13, 1960, 8 Florida A&M University students and 2 African American high school students sat down at the Woolworth lunch counter and asked to be served. They took this action in sympathy with the sit-ins in Greensboro, North Carolina. Sound familiar? After their request was denied, the students remained seated in silent protest. After 2 hours of heckling from white patrons, the store manager closed the counter and the crowd dispersed before police arrived. For the next 2 months, members of the local chapter of the Congress of Racial Equality, an interracial organization that espoused a strategy of moral suasion based on the teachings of Mohandas Gandhi, held several more sit-ins. Patricia and Priscilla Stevens, sisters and FAMU students, were particularly important in coordinating these efforts. Despite being denounced by Florida's political leaders as engaging in illegal and incendiary acts, students persisted in their efforts to expose the immortality of racial discrimination, even though it meant subjecting themselves to physical and verbal abuse. They received moral, emotional, and financial support from Tallahassee civil rights organizations and African American churches. On March 17th, Judge John Rudd found the first group of 11 arrestees guilty of disturbing the peace and sentenced them each to pay a $300 fine or spend 60 days in jail. In an unprecedented move, they chose jail over bail. 3 years of continued economic pressure led to downtown business owners to desegregate their lunch counters. The sit-ins inspired the continued use of non-violent direct action to confront everyday injustices and inequality. And as the sister Patricia Stevens do put it, stories live forever, but storytellers don't listen to the foot soldiers while you can. That is very true. So this is the Civil Rights Walk, by the way, for those who's wondering. It's at the corner of Monroe and Jefferson Street. Feel like I just had a history lesson, because I didn't even know Tallahassee had involvement like that in the civil rights movement. I mean, I'm not surprised either, though. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they were heavily involved. Those FAMU students were like, they were pounding the pavement, letting their voices be heard through nonviolent action. And this brings us over here to the Florida Capitol. This is the state capitol building of Florida. Now, this Florida state capitol is pretty intriguing because it looks like there are 2 buildings. As I approach the corner of South Monroe Street and Appalachian Parkway, but let me get closer to this Capitol building. So, from what I've been reading, this tall building right there is the old state capitol building. And the one in the forefront right here is the newer state capitol building. Let me get closer to get more perspective on this, because it's two separate buildings, but it's all part of the, I guess this would be considered the Capitol complex. But yeah, I think right here in the forefront is the newer Capitol building, and that tall building back there is the old state Capitol building, which is quite unique because many Capitol buildings aren't in the form of a tower. They're more shaped like this, usually with a dome on the top of them. But let me read this marker right here. It says the old capital of Florida, and the sun is like right here, so I'm gonna try to get over this way. The first two sessions of the territorial legislature were held at St. Augustine and Pensacola. So those are the two oldest cities in Florida. The hazards of traveling between cities 400 miles apart prompted legislators in 1824 to locate a new capital at Tallahassee between the two cities. Log buildings that housed the government made way in 1826 for a two-story masonry structure, which I believe is this right here. This was succeeded in 1845, what is now the core of the present historic capitol. A dome and wings were added in 1902, and further additions in 1923 to 36 and 47. Okay. And this was restored to its 1902 appearance in 1982. So here it is. So I guess they wanted to, that's why they put the state capitol in Tallahassee, because the oldest cities in Florida, again, Pensacola and St. Augustine, they were too far apart from each other to be having the capitals located in either one of those cities. So being in Tallahassee, if you look at it on the map, Tallahassee is in more of a centralized location, which makes more sense to host or house the state capitol. So there you have it. And this has to be the current Capitol building. You can tell because I see lights on in there, and I also see the flags waving, the Florida state flag, the military flag, and the American flag. They're all waving up there. So first time for everything, and it's my first time actually seeing the Florida state capitol up close, because I thought it was interesting when doing my research. I saw this building right here along with a tower situated behind it, and they said that used to be the Capitol building. So that's like I said, it's a pretty unique setup. Captain John Parkhill of Leon Volunteers. Okay. Florida State Capitol, Great Seal of the State of Florida, in God we trust. This is the Larson Building. The Larson Building at the corner of Monroe and Gaines. As I make my way down Gaines Street, and this right here is the Fletcher Building. Gain Street. These motorcycles is out here today. This right here is the Collins building. Looks like they're doing some form of renovations perhaps over here. Now, what function this building holds, not quite sure. I don't know if it's a residential hall to the college, or I don't know if it's a government building. I don't know. At the corner of Gain Street and Duval Street. This is the Ralph Tarlington Florida Education Center. This building right here at the corner of Brono and Gain Street. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that street name right. Bronoff, perhaps. Who knows? Oh, nothing up here. This is nice right here. You outlast winter's brawl and summer's burn. In spring, wildflowers hug the skirt of your trunk. You breathe out, or you breathe our breath and give us ours. Okay. Let me read the other side of that real quick. In this dream, you are the forest, the river of your roots, anchors the canopy above. Your arms shelter moss, fern, the acorns of fall. Okay. That poetic candy right there, man. That's some poetry right there for real. There's a FAMU banner right there. FAMU established 1887. That's them Rattlers, that orange and green. Florida State Seminoles, or them Florida State Seminoles. We're here at Cascades Park, right here in the heart of Tallahassee. And Cascades Park is located on 24 acres of land. And it's located alongside a stream known as the St. Augustine Branch. And we're not far from the Florida State Capitol building. And as you can see right here, this park is also located near what looks like a hotel right over there. But this is called Cascades Park. And I can't go to a city without at least going to one of their major city parks. I love city parks again because it gives you sort of an escape from the main part of the city where there's a lot of traffic and cars honking and that whole nine. Over here you get tranquility. And here's the stream right here. As you can see, I'm gonna take a nice stroll in the park. Why not? Starting to cool down a lot, you know.
6 barrels.
Oh, right. Yeah.
On the benches right here. Here's a table right here with an umbrella. Get as much shade as you can. Had to take a breather right here on this little swing right here. As you can see, sun's still beaming and it's almost 8 o'clock, but you know what, it's still nice. Love the extra sunlight, extra daylight. Yeah, that's the swing right here. Shout out to the family of John and Ellen Lewis for donating this swing right here to Cascades Park. So let me keep going this way. Because The main attraction of this park is actually heading towards this way. So let me go check that out. And check this building out right here. This looks like this is a restaurant. It has to be a restaurant, like a bar, a grill, something to that effect. And they have a beanbag toss right there. And they have the patios over here. It's called the Edison. As in like Thomas Edison. And here we are. This is the reason why they call this park the Cascades Park, because of these waterfalls, these Cascade waterfalls right here. I had no idea Tallahassee had something like this. I got to get a selfie on my phone with this. Send it to my folks. That's very, very peaceful and serene. And look at the plants that surround it. So it has a nice little botanical setup around the waterfall. So you can't help but enjoy this type of environment. And the cherry on top, like as if this wasn't already beautiful enough right here. The cherry on top right is this amphitheater that's part of this park. This is the Capital City Amphitheater. As you can see right here, the Adderley Amphitheater is what it's called as well. It's up, as you can see up there. And look at all the seating that they have. It's an abundance of seating. And there's the stage right here. And check out the lights right over here. Man, this is fresh, man. This is a really, really dope park. And in case you were wondering, this park was actually opened in 2014, even though the idea was conceived in 1971, but because of a lot of environmental issues, basically the whole thing stalled out, and it was just, it had to be a major cleanup in order for the park to come to fruition. So fast forward to a little over 40 years after it was conceived, that's when the park finally opened up. And it was definitely worth the wait, because just look at how amazing this park is. And they also have a playground right here as well. Discovery, presented by First Commerce. By the way, man, I keep shouting out a lot of y'all sponsorships, man. I need a sponsorship deal coming my way on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Nah, I'm just joking. Y'all wait till I blow up on these YouTube streets. Yeah, P9 just talking trash right now. But look how well landscaped this park is. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's off the chain. I mean, they put a lot of work in this, obviously. If you just look at this right here. And it looks like this may be a horseshoe or something to that effect. I don't know, but it's a major sculpture right here. It's a memorial. It's a lot more to take on, a lot more to take in the city of Tallahassee. Adding on to what I was saying earlier about the civil rights walk, this is actually the site where the Leon County Jail once stood. So again, as I read earlier, some of the activists who got arrested chose to stay in jail instead of paying the bail, and a lot of them, those jail sentences were 30 days long. So you had right here, you had the separate and unequal. This is what I was talking about earlier about the facilities that were segregated. And this happens to be a laundry facility that says whites only. And you had, of course, you had the Tallahassee bus boycott. See these brothers sitting on the bus. Then there goes that sister right there. And you also have the sit-ins right here. And this was at the McRory's and Woolworth, like department stores. They also had like lunch counters that were in the department stores. Jail over bail. There goes Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Of course. I know you guys all recognize him. And there goes the marching that took place. And here comes the schools. A long journey. Defeating segregation took years of sustained struggle. A federal court ordered the integration of Leon County Public Schools in 1967, more than 10 years after the local civil rights movement began. The legacy of those who fought for justice reminds us that ordinary people can do extraordinary things and offers hope for a brighter tomorrow. Amen to that. So, Tallahassee with the civil rights memorabilia. So I think that's pretty dope right there. So that's where the Leon County Jail used to stand. So now on that same site, there's this hotel, Marriott Hotel, and nearby is also like an apartment building. So a lot has changed in 50 plus years. I mean, a lot has changed. Some things are still the same, but a lot has changed as well. So depending on who you ask, we've made progress. So this is the Black Archives Research Center and Museum Extension of Florida A&M University. And this is also functions as a museum of Florida history. But this right here is the Union Bank of Florida, which was completed in 1841. The Union Bank is Florida's oldest surviving bank building. The business was chartered in 1833 as a planter's bank from which plantation owners could borrow against their land and slave holdings. So the bank operated in a private house called the Columns until 1841. With John Gamble as its first and only president, it served as Florida's major territorial bank. The bank failed in 1843 because of crop failures, the Second Seminole War, and unsound banking practices. Well, after remaining unused for 25 years, the building reopened in 1868 as the National Freedmen Saving and Trust Company, serving emancipated slaves and refugees. Starting in 1874, the building functioned in a variety of ways as a church, shoe factory, beauty shop, and dance studio. Originally located near the southwest corner of Adams Street and Park Avenue, the structure was moved to this site in 1971. The Union Bank building was restored and opened to the public as a museum in 1984. So this is the first and oldest surviving bank building in the state of Florida. And it just so happens to be right here in the city of Tallahassee. So Tallahassee, it's a lot of history in Tallahassee. There's a lot of firsts in Tallahassee. Leon County Courthouse right here. And this just so happens to be the 200th year anniversary of Leon County being a county in Florida. It was established as a county in 1824, but keep in mind, Florida was still a territory at that time. It wasn't even a state. And there goes a history of Leon County right here, which was originally part of Escambia County and later Gaston counties. Leon was created by the territorial legislature in 1824, named for Juan Ponce de Leon, discoverer of Florida. it became antebellum Florida's most prosperous and populous county. Cotton thrived in its fertile soil. Tallahassee, the county seat, has been the state capital since 1824. It is home to the Florida State University, established 1857, and Florida A&M University, established 1887. Leon is such a powerful name. That was the name of 3 generations going back to my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and his son, my uncle, all on my mother's side of the family. So there you go, Leon County. I am here on the campus of Florida State University, established 1851, and it is Florida's oldest continuous site of higher education. And Florida State University, of course, is located in Tallahassee, and it is located on close to 500 acres of land. So the campus is really, really big. So I'm right here at the Azalea and Magnolia building, and there's a bunch of beautiful plants right in front of it, as you can see. There's a Starbucks. Like on every major campus, there's a Starbucks. Every major college campus. So a lot of these buildings, some of them are like frat and sorority houses. This is Tanner Hall right here. Actually houses the university police The Florida State University Police is housed in that building. As I get ready to walk down Woodward Avenue, Florida State, like any typical major university, there's a ton of services. They actually have a UPS store right here available on campus. They also have a college ministry, which is in that building over there. And of course, there's a series of academic buildings and residential halls as well, scattered across the campus. This right here is called Dorman Hall. Looks like it's a residential hall based on the amount of floors they have. You check this out right here. This sculpture is called the Pathos Hephaestus Eros, sculpted by John Whitcomb Robertson in 1996. So I want to say it's based off of like Greek mythology. Pathos, Hephaestus, and Eros. Eros is the son of Aphrodite. Hephaestus was the god of fire, metalwork, stonemasonry, forges, and the art of sculpture. And pathos is a quality of an experience of life, a work of art that stimulates sensations of pity, sympathy, and sorrow. Pathos can be expressed through words, pictures, or even with gestures of the body. So this is what this sculpture embodies right here. And it's surrounded by all these nice flowers and plants. And this right here is the student services building right over here. This area, it's like a social area, looks like where people can meet up. It's right around what's called the Mary Coburn Health and Wellness Center, which is over here. So this is the wellness center. which I would presume they would have like all of the like physical educational, you know, kinesthetics, kinesthesiology, I think that's how you pronounce it. The study of exercising, basically, it is right here in this building. And look how massive this building is. So the campus, of course, being that it is summer, it's not going to be much student population or anybody on the campus, with the exception of maybe some students that, you know, stayed and did college courses. I mean, excuse me, summer courses. But that's pretty much it. We have what's called the FS View. So in here are publications that pertain to the college itself, Florida State University. So excuse that loud noise. That was just the door slamming. FS View, established in 1915. Check out this tree right here surrounding all these plants right here on the traffic circle known as Varsity Way, as you can see. So basically we're approaching the part of the campus that includes the athletic facilities for the university. FSU is well known for its sports programs, particularly its football program, its basketball program, both men and women's, and its softball and baseball program. So just to name a few, I'm pretty sure they're known for their gymnastics as well. But Florida State has a ton of major sports and intramural sports as well. So I suppose these might be some more residential halls right here. Check out this garden real quick. It's like a on-campus garden. A multitude of shrubs and plants over here. Okay, some orange mint right here. That's something I would like to learn how to do really well, is gardening, because you can organically grow your own food. They even have a little shed right here. It's called the Seminole Organic Garden. Of course, Seminole alluding to Florida State's mascot. But it had this shade, this tree right here with plenty of shade. So it's plenty of shade over here if you want to, you know, for those who take place or take part in gardening here at FSU. FSU circus? Florida State has a circus? I didn't know that. Never heard of a college having their own circus. I gotta do my research on that. Not a huge fan of clowns though. I've never been a huge fan of clowns. Like I'm not even joking. Even though circuses are fun, it's cool to see the circus animals like the elephant, tiger. But even seeing the acrobats on the trapeze and everything, but the clowns, I don't know, it's something about them, they always freak me out. But it's cool to also see them do the little juggle, you know, juggle the ball. Never been a huge fan of the balloon animals, but that's just me. But here we go, right here in front of what looks like Doak Campbell Stadium, which is home to the Florida State Seminoles football team. And right here is this fountain. So they have a fountain, a massive fountain at that, right in front of the stadium. Wait a minute, this isn't even the stadium. This is not the stadium. I stand corrected. This is actually called the TK Weatherell building. No, this is the Doak Campbell Stadium. So wait a minute. So is this the Doak Campbell Stadium combined with another building? I'm kind of confused here. But nevertheless, let's continue to explore, shall we? And here comes the statue of Seminole Indians. One of the statue is the woman who is carrying her child. She's embracing and nurturing her child right there on the far left. The Seminole woman with the long, beautiful hair and the jewelry. And in the center is the father who has his rifle in hand, ready for war. And here goes and then right here in the far right is the son who has bow and arrows. So he's, you know, the next young warrior up and coming. So this is the Seminole family. And these life-size cast bronze sculptures were created by the team of Bradley Cooley and Bradley Cooley Jr. of Lamont, Florida. So it just basically shows the typical Seminole family during the Seminole Wars of 1830. So the Seminole Wars took place 2 decades before the Florida State University was even established. So I gotta further explore what this building is right here. Right here it says this is the College of Motion Picture Arts. See, College of Motion Picture Arts. So it looks like this building right here has multiple functions. So guys, I was right the first time. This is Doak Campbell Stadium. It's essentially a stadium complex. So where I got confused was that I saw a bunch of other names attached to the building, but it's the same building essentially, but it's like a complex of other facilities. So it's basically other facilities that are connected to Doak Campbell Stadium. So this is basically called the University Center over in this area, and they have a bus stop. So they have a shuttle for college students here at Florida State called the FSU Seminole Shuttle, Seminole Express. And right here is a dining area called the Seminole Dining, and the name of this one particular restaurant is Three Torches. So you have the dining area right over here that's right next to the bus stop for the Seminole Express. And it looks like they also have a food truck, Seminole Dining Three Torches. So they were established in 2021, so been in operation for 3 years. So I would imagine this food truck is fully functional, especially during game days. And this is Doak Campbell Stadium. Now they're making improvements to the stadium, which are scheduled to be completed in the fall of next year. So not only is this Doak Campbell Stadium, but it's also called DeVoe Moore University Center. As you can see right here, this is the entrance to Florida State University's Doak Campbell Stadium. But I also want to check this out over here. This statue right here. That. See, this is the name of this statue is called the Unconquered, and it looks like it has a Seminole warrior mounted on a horse with its spear with the feathers on the side. George Langford, one of the major supporters of Florida State University, as well as chairman of the FSU Foundation. Shout out to George Langford. And this is what this area right here is named after. It's called the Langford Green. So you have all this right here. So I'm guessing this is where football fans can congregate before, during, and after the football game. But this is Doak Campbell Stadium. So the Florida State University football team, generally speaking, they're usually ranked within at least the top 25 in the college football rankings on an annual basis. I mean, they have a extensive history in their football program. And a side note, Doak Campbell Stadium is actually the 15th largest stadium in college football. Now the name of the stadium is Doak Campbell Stadium, but the name of the playing field is called Bobby Bowden Field. Of course, Bobby Bowden is a long-time head coach of Florida State University. And in the history, Florida State has won 3 national titles, 19 conference titles, 16 of those coming in the ACC, which is the conference it currently competes in. And there's also been 3 Heisman Trophy winners in the history of Doak Campbell Stadium. The most recent being Jameis Winston, who currently plays in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns. He won the Heisman back in 2013. Chris Winkie won the Heisman back in 2000. He was the team's quarterback. And Charlie Ward also won the award back in 1993. He was also a quarterback. So all of the Heisman Trophy winners for Florida State have all played the quarterback position. And Charlie Ward actually had a career in the NBA as a starting guard for the New York Knicks. But as you can see, you see a lot of construction equipment over here. So they are doing work on the stadium to improve the stadium. This is gate C of the building. So this is a university center that's linked in with the stadium. So they're both connected to each other. I want to get this statue right here because it's very symbolic. This is a sculpture right here, and it represents sportsmanship. And good sportsmanship cannot be coached, man. It's just something, either you have it or you don't have it. But it's definitely a key asset for any player, whether on a professional, collegiate, or amateur level. It's always good to display sportsmanship. You can compete against your opponent, but showing good sportsmanship is really what separates the men from the boys. And this is known as Al D. Strum Plaza. And Al D. Strum is actually from Valdosta, Georgia. And he moved to St. Petersburg, Florida at the age of 6 in 1905. So he excelled in many high school sports and was a varsity swimmer in college, but best known for his boating accomplishments. And Margaret Strum has dedicated this plaza in memory of her father, Al D. Strum. And Maggie was a 1949 graduate cheerleader and member of the Pi Beta Phi sorority at Florida State University. So she dedicated this to her father. So shout out to Al D. Strum and Maggie Strum. But this right here is the Bobby Bowden sculpture. The Bobby Bowden sculpture honors the dedication, devotion, and faithful commitment of Coach Bobby Bowden to his family, his team, and youth. And Bobby Bowden was a longtime accomplished head coach for the Florida State Noles. He was born into a home next to the Woodlawn High School football field and grew up listening to the shrill of coaching whistles, the thud of shoulder pads, and the nonstop talk about perennial state champions football team. As fate would have it, the Bowden's next home was a half block from Samford University's football field, where Bobby became a little All-American quarterback. Okay. So Bobby Bowden said his philosophy of coaching was to develop my players into winners physically, academically, and spiritually. That philosophy was not only inspired by legendary coaches, but by his mother and father. My family was, always will be, number one with me. So here's the actual statue of Bobby Bowden. There he is, pointing to the sky, and he has his headset in his left hand. Of course, he has his FSU cap on. And Bobby Bowden, he coached the Florida State for so long. He coached Florida State from 1976 to 2009. So for 30 plus years, he coached Florida State, and he won multiple titles with the team. He won 2 national titles, 12 ACC conference titles, and 2 ACC division titles. Won the Coach of the Year in '91. And he was inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame in 2006. So as you can see right here, they're constructing something over here. I'm pretty sure it's going to be an add-on to the stadium. But look at all those accomplishments for Florida State football team. And that's them hoisting up the national championship. And here are the 3 national titles that they won, 93, 99. Both of those were with Bobby Bowden. And 2013, they won that with Jimbo Fisher. Over here on Call Street on the campus of Florida State University, and this 8-story building that you see before me is called Nathaniel Sally Hall. And this is, now my mother attended Florida State University and graduated from Florida State University, and this is the residential hall that she stayed in during her time at FSU. Again, this is Nathaniel Sally Hall. And it's pretty big too. I think it's a east side to the building as well. I'm gonna go down here a little further. Yes. This is the east side of Sally Hall right here. So there's more to this building. That's how huge Florida State is. That's how many student that's how huge the student body is. But this is Sally Hall, Florida State. Shout out to my dear moms for this. I have finally arrived to the beautiful historic campus of the historically black university, Florida A&M. And Florida A&M, aka FAMU, and I'm gonna start this thing off here at the corner of Althea Gibson Way and Railroad Avenue. So Althea Gibson is one of the first tennis players to cross the colored lines. So she was one of the first professional, probably was the first professional African-American woman tennis player. And she was also a professional golfer. And Althea Gibson attended Florida A&M University. She attended FAM back in 1949. She was on a full athletic scholarship here and was also a member of the Beta Alpha chapter, aka sorority. So Althea Gibson Way was named after the legendary golfer and tennis player herself. And as you can see right here, this is the Student Service Center of the FAMU Rattlers. And you can see that orange and green color scheme right there. Before I go back down that way, I'm gonna go over here. And you can also get a pretty nice view of the city from over here. Tallahassee, the downtown buildings, city buildings over in this area. And my mother started off college. She attended FAMU back in the late 70s. And I know she had a really good time, because FAMU is, I mean, it's a party school for sure. It's high, you know, of course they have, you know, they perform academically, but they party. They party, you know, they get down on as far as the marching band is concerned. More on them later. But this is the legendary FAMU campus, and I'm honored to step foot on this legendary campus. Now this building right here, it looks abandoned. Maybe my mother can identify this particular building. Maybe she remembers this building. Or they might have it, you know what, they may have it listed, or they may have a sign. Okay, it's the Sybil C. Mobley Business Building. But it's obviously abandoned. But here it is, the Mobley Building. And right over here is a cluster of buildings. One of them, this one right here, this one looks relatively modern from the outside. It looks like a modern building, so I know it wasn't here back in the day, but it is called the School of Journalism and Graphic Communication. So that would probably be something like right up my alley if I were to attend here. That over there is the, I can see it from over here, the Gore Educational Complex. Now, FAMU was founded in 1887, the third largest HBCU in the United States by enrollment, and the only public historically black university in Florida. Oh, wow. I didn't know it was the only public historically black university in Florida. So Bethune-Cookman must be a private university then. As well as Edward Waters College in Jacksonville. So, an abolitionist by the name of Jonathan Gibbs, who was a Presbyterian minister and served as the Secretary of State and Superintendent of Public Instruction in Florida. He was the one who introduced legislation to create what was called at the time the State College, Normal College of Colored Students, and this was in 1885. So this was 1 year after he was elected to the Florida legislature. So at that time, it was a new constitution drafted in Florida, which prohibited racial integration in schools. This was 1885. So naturally, because of that legislation, black people, especially an abolitionist by the name of Jonathan C. Gibbs, he would form a institution that would educate black folks Now I'm reading that the college was located in Tallahassee because Leon County and adjacent counties led the state in African American population, reflecting Tallahassee's former status as the center of Florida's slave trade. Wow, so that you're telling me like back in the late 1800s that Tallahassee was the center of the slave trade in the state of Florida? Had no clue. I would have thought that would have been more on like the coastal cities in Florida, being that they can receive the imports easily because of their location by the water. But I don't know, what do I know? But this right here is the Coleman Library. I'm pretty sure this was my mom's hangout spot because she was very studious, loves to read books. So I know this was her spot over here, Coleman Library. You see, they have this nice sculpture sitting right outside the library. Got a few little seating areas out here. They also have some more benches over this area. Let me get a little bit closer. So they have some benches right over here with plenty of shade. Much needed so you won't fry out here in this Florida sun and this Florida humidity. Oh, let me see. Okay. Now this right here is the FAMU College of Law. So this particular marker right here recognized the original College of Law graduates who took classes in what is now the Samuel Harrison College Library from 51 to 1968. The 57 alumni listed below are honored as having ascended the steps and entered these doors to achieve the highest educational distinction of Juris Doctor, aka the JD. And here's a list of these individuals. It was 57 of them. Let me make sure I get all of them in the frame. Their legacy of greatness continues through the reestablished College of Law in Orlando, Florida, where numerous individuals have graduated to become lawyers and leaders. So this was erected September 9th, 2022. Shout out to Kelvin Lawson, Larry Robinson, PhD, Maurice Eddington, PhD, and Deidre Keller, JD, the Dean of the College of Law. So the university president is Larry Robinson, and the chair of Board of Trustees, Kelvin Lawson, as well as the provost and vice president for academic affairs, Dr. Eddington. Okay, cool. That is what's up. It's an awful lot of history at FAM. And over here is the plot where the frat brothers hang out, like right over here. And this right here is the Black Archives Research Museum, also known as the Carnegie Library at FAMU. And as you can see, this was built in 1908 with funds donated by industrialist and philanthropist Andrew Carnegie. This was the first Carnegie Library built on a black land-grant college campus. Nathan Young, president of State Normal College for Colored Students, which it was Florida A&M was known as during that time, with cooperation from the School Alumni Association, obtained a $10,000 donation from Carnegie to construct the library. So a 1905 fire had destroyed Duval Hall, the college's main academic building and original library. Carnegie Library, stocked with donations from alumni, was the first brick veneer building on this campus at the former location of Highwood Plantation. It was also the first building with indoor plumbing and electricity. So keep in mind, this was in the early 1900s. So buildings with indoor plumbing and electricity was extremely rare. But during the 50s and 60s, the library served as an art gallery and education facility. In 1970, it became a religious center. In 1976, Florida A&M President Benjamin Perry Jr. designated it as the home of the Black Archives Research Center and Museum. In 78, under the museum's founding director, Dr. James Eaton Sr., the library was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Okay. So obviously a very historic site. And here it is right here, by the way. This, I'm gonna get closer to it. Now the official name of the building that is attached to, I believe it's this building back here, this brick building. The official name of it is the Meek Eaton Carnegie Center. And here is the library right here. As you can see. Now this right here is called Jones Hall. As you can see here. Before I proceed, I want to go back. I saw an interesting building that was beyond this Carnegie Library. That's a bell right there. Before my camera cut off, this was the building that I was referring to right here. This looks like an abandoned building. It says keep out, authorized personnel only, so I'm not quite sure what that building's function is. But moving on. Like this tree right here, by the way. Beautiful Florida palm trees. But as I was saying about this bell earlier, because again the camera had cut off, this bell and these flowers right here were donated by the Ladies of Art Social Club, founded in December of 1924, the oldest continuous African-American women's social club in the state of Florida. All right, cool. Like I said, lots of history at FAMU. Dr. James H. Ammons, President, FAMU, November 2nd, 2007. That's him right here, President of FAMU, National Alumni Association from 1970 to 1980. Dr. Leonard Johnson, who's this gentleman right here, with University President B.L. Perry, to form an extraordinary bulwark against a rising clamor of legislative utterances to close Florida's third oldest public university. Public officials who had exhausted their efforts to preserve segregation embraced integration as a form of punishment against black institutions at all levels of learning by simply shutting them down. Wow. Johnson, class of 1950, a prominent family physician in Philadelphia, crisscrossed the nation, alerting alumni to the political chicanery taking place behind closed doors in Florida's capital city, right here in Tallahassee, of course. And in an era when the majority population expected blacks to be deferential, his voice resonated up and down the corridors of the Capitol in support of maintaining FAMU as an independent and autonomous university. Johnson initiated the weekend of rededication, where alumni recommitted themselves to unwavering support of their alma mater. So, yes, basically Dr. Johnson played an instrumental role in making sure FAMU wasn't closed down in the midst of all of the turmoil that was going on, in the midst of the civil rights movement in the Jim Crow era. And by the way, I'm learning a lot of this stuff on the fly. I'm learning a lot of names. This is what I like about these vlogs, these tours, because I can just learn on the fly. Like, I'm learning a lot of new historical figures who I've never heard of before. That goes to show you how extremely vast and deep history is. It's seemingly endless, like the amount of history that's out there. Well, and they have this little, it's like torch or this flame, whatever it is, right here. It's a circle. And they have a flame coming out of it right here. And again, there's more palm trees right over here as we approach this building. And this is Lee Hall right here. This building right here is Lee Hall. So again, this Florida A&M, as I mentioned earlier, was founded in 1887. It was founded as the state normal college for colored students and the only historically state-supported educational facility for African Americans in Florida. So Territorial Governor W.P. Duval once had a slave plantation which was known as Florida A&M College from 1909 to 1953, when it attained university status. So a lot of this I mentioned earlier. This is a Jackson Davis Hall right here. And right over here is the H. Manning Efferson Union Complex. So it's nicely, I like the colors, you know, that they have decked out over here. Of course, it's the school colors, the orange and green. But over here is also where the FAMU Office of Student Activities is located. It's like over there in that building. Now check this out. This really blew my mind right here. They have a performing arts amphitheater right here on campus. It's called the Will Packer Performing Arts Amphitheater. As you can see right here. I'm just wondering where the seating is. You may have to bring your own chairs out here. Unless, I mean, some people might be able to sit on the ground or whatever, but like sit on these right over here. But they have the Jumbotron right here. And the famous lettering in orange green pattern is the FAMU letters. That is dope. In this pink and green brick sculpture right here. This is one of the sororities. Excuse me if I don't know the name of the particular sorority. I'm not really good with identifying sororities and fraternities, but nevertheless, I just know the color scheme is pink and green, and it spells out right here, spells out the word or the name Imani, and it's I.M.A.N.I, which leads me to believe it's an acronym for something. But Imani actually translates into faith in the African language, so that's pretty nice. Shout out to you too, fam. Imani. A relative by that name. But that's it for now. I'm gonna go check out a couple more parts of the campus, and I'll be return soon. Last but not least, on the FAMU campus, this is the FAMU football field. It's called Bragg Stadium, and this is where the FAMU Rattlers football team play their home games. And Also, might I add that it's also where the FAMU marching 100 or marching whatever, however many band members they have, this is where their famous band usually performs during the halftime shows. And when I tell you that band puts on the show, FAMU is probably one of the dopest marching bands in America by far. I remember when I was in school, like high school, my homeboy used to go to the Battle of the Bands in Atlanta every year, back when the Georgia Dome still existed. And FAMU used to be the top performing band pretty much every year by far. It was them and Bethune-Cookman, among other ones, Alabama A&M, and who else? Alabama State. They were pretty good, but FAMU, couldn't nobody mess with FAMU when it comes to that band. But yes, this is Florida A&M University's football field. Bragg Memorial Stadium. Seats 25,000 people, and it opened in 1957 and renovated in 1882. And it was named after Julie Bragg, who was one of the school's first athletic directors. And the Florida A&M Rattlers, back in 1977, which saw the FAMU Rattlers football team go undefeated by 11-0 and 5-0 in conference play. The head coach during that time was Rudy Hubbard, who is still living, by the way. He is 78 years old today. He actually was the head coach. He was in his 4th year as a head coach when they went undefeated. And from 1974 to 1985, he compiled a record of 83, 48, and 3. And he also led them to the Division I AA football championship in 1978 and consecutive black college football national championships in 1977 and 1978. So FAMU was good. Back when my mom attended FAMU, FAMU's football team was actually pretty good. I think I recall, as far as I can recall, I remember she told me that FAMU actually upset Florida State in a non-conference matchup one year. And when I tell you FAMU partied, I know they partied like crazy, because FAMU was obviously an extreme underdog in that matchup. We're talking Florida State Seminoles, a national powerhouse. So that was a big deal for FAMU to pull off that W, that upset win. But yes, I know my mom has a lot of good memories of being at FAMU. With that in mind, this will conclude my visit to FAMU and the city of Tallahassee as a whole. It has been a lot of fun being here in Tallahassee, and I saw a lot of good people, and I also saw a lot of beautiful sights. Downtown and the campuses of Florida State and FAMU have been a lot of fun. With that in mind, you guys take care. If you like what you saw, please comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. Until the next one, peace. Have a great day.